Zhruba ve 40 seriálech a 40 filmech za svou zhruba 40letou kariéru. Mimo jiné Měsíční svit, Odpadlík, Ellie McBealová, Plastická chirurgie Seroho, Walker Texas Ranger, Drzá Jordan, prostě takovýto primácký a novácký odpolední okýnka. Tak tam všude můžete vidět Garyho Grahama. Gary Graham.
I'm such a kid. Yeah, all right. Nostalgie!
Okay, when I was asked to do an interview with you, I was like, well, who's this guy? He was so...
Thank God my vodka came.
I was like, oh yeah, he was on Star Trek Enterprise. I haven't seen that so much. But then they told me you were on Alien Nation. And that's something that I grew up with. That was one of the first sci-fi movies, shows, franchise that was ever broadcasted here on TV. Because we had this communist guy here who didn't allow us to watch any of the American movies. And,
Don't you love the commies? Let's hear it for the commies!
I would call me, I'm a fan of that.
I'm losing the commies. Okay, every commie bastard leave. Okay. Just kidding, just kidding. No, then. Okay.
So we just had an election and it looked like they're gonna win and they didn't win in the end, so I guess that was...
Oh, I know. We've got the same thing going on right now over there.
You've got a communist party there?
Oh, yeah. Got a commie president. Hey, you know, oh, okay, I know that's not very popular, but I'm not gonna talk politics here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well,
how about the Cardinals? All right, okay, no.
No, because one of my a bit political question was actually about the Alien Nation.
Oh, okay.
Because when you compare the series and the movies, and the movies are a bit more popular here, it really changed. It was quite a funny show in the series where I know you weren't casted. There was a different guy playing the
You mean in the movie?
In the series before. Or in the movie before series.
Yes, in the movie before the series. Yeah, James Caan played Matt Sykes, Manny Patinkin, and played George. Yeah.
And do you have any idea why you were casted instead?
Well, it was they did the movie first, and then they brought it to Kenny Johnson, an executive producer, a showrunner, and they said, we want to make a series out of this movie. And Kenny went and saw the movie, and he said, you know, it's a great premise, but this movie sort of devolves into an elaborate car chase, basically, is what it ends up. But a great premise. But he remembered one scene from the movie, which is where James Caan picks Manny Patinkin up from for work, and as they're driving away, he's waving to his family, the newcomer family, these aliens on the lawn, waving bye, Daddy, and they're newcomers, and you know, trying to fit into a neighborhood, and all the neighbors are kind of looking at him, and he says, now that I could make a series on that right there. A newcomer family trying to fit into a neighborhood, sort of guess who's coming to dinner, you know, that old Sidney Poitier movie, if you remember that. I could make a series about that. So he decided to take it on, and though there was a lot of car chases, cop chases, busting people, murders, and all that, the usual police hijinks, there was also a lot of story about people trying to fit in to a place that they're different, and raising issues about tolerance and acceptance of people that aren't like you, but scratching beyond the surface to what is our commonality. And what we come up with in that series is even though there's different species, there's a lot of commonality in God's creations, if you will. So that's what we played around with a lot, and it worked, I thought, really great as a 1-hour series. Each episode would be somebody learning something new. In my case, learning about the human condition, about Matt Sykes' humanity, and kind of getting over his most recently reviewed bugaboo about dealing with people. Because Matt had a lot of problems. I had a lot of problems,
really good ones.
Yeah, well, just being a normal good guy, basically, and not being a racist bigot. So along the arc of the series, working with an alien, a human working with an alien, and not liking aliens in the beginning, and being completely not racist, but specious, which is a word we invented. But it's, when you have special discrimination against someone.
And were there any kind of jokes running about this, about some of the cast being newcomers, aliens, and other being human, and were there kind of jokes about
Non-stop and nothing but jokes all the time, day in, 24/7. Yeah. And because there were so many, I can't remember any of them. It just was non-stop. The sour milk and
Because, for example, with I don't know if you know this little show called Walking Dead, they have a lot of zombie actors in there, and they are not allowed to eat at the same table as the regular cast. Yeah, because they make them nauseous. Was there anything like that, like alien table and human table?
No, because it's not quite the same of being bald with a spotted head and having your skin fall off, and a jaw sore and a gaping neck wound, and dead, rotting, decaying flesh that is so well done by the makeup department that it really looks real. And some of this makeup they use and the salves and the stuff, it smells bad. It really does. So it's not only the visual horror, it's also the olfactory horror. But one thing, on that little side point, little tangent here, I was doing a show called God, I wish I could remember. Fred Dryer was the star of it. Anybody remember a Fred Dryer series? God, I can't even believe it. But then I can't remember half the things that I've done. People say, you were in this movie, weren't you? And I go, what? I was? Yes, you were very good. And I thought, well, that's good, I guess.
Is it all the parties?
Manhunter. It wasn't Manhunter. It was God, what was it? He was playing a cop. Anyway, it's not important what the series was. What's important is the fact that I can't remember it. But I played a character who was an actor who somebody else was that's what it was. I played a character who was a star of the series, and we had an accident on the set, and one half of my face got completely horribly burned. and obviously my career was over. And though we made a settlement, I could never. I was a guy who was very, very bitter. So I kept murdering people along the way, as you would do, you know. That happens. But anyway, this very elaborate makeup job that I was in. It took like 3 hours to get in this stuff. And it was horrible. It looked like my face, my entire half of my head looked like a really badly burnt pepperoni pizza with some mozzarella, and it was just horrible. And it was very uncomfortable to be in it, and I had to act in it for a whole week. And I would go to lunch, I would just walk along the street and on Hollywood Boulevard is where we did it, right outside the Wax Museum on Hollywood Boulevard. And I would see people who didn't know I was an actor. Because I would walk back from my dressing room to the set and all that. They didn't know, and they just saw me and turned away and just would avert their eyes. And everywhere I would see this look of, and people would get very uncomfortable, and it was strange to see this react. And I would remember that I couldn't forget the makeup on because it was so uncomfortable. And I instantly felt incredible empathy for people who have horrible scars on their body, burn victims and whatnot. I thought I got a brief glimpse into what they must encounter every day of their lives. Only they can't take that makeup off at the end of the day and go about it. They're stuck with it forever. And so it was a very, very epiphanic event in my life to see this sort of reaction from people. They didn't want to embarrass me, but they just disengaged, eye contact, looked away, pretended it wasn't, I wasn't so horribly scarred. And going to lunchtime, I realized that, oh my God, I did not want to inflict this look on anybody at lunchtime, so I went and ate my lunch in my own dressing room. I would just keep my head down, and it really affected my whole persona. I felt like I was scarred. It was just the reaction of different people.
Yeah, maybe everyone should try that.
I think it would be great therapy for everyone to get a very expensive makeup artist to rack up quite a bill and spend 3 hours in this makeup and just watch the reactions.
Mm-hmm. But on a little bit lighter tone, what I loved about the alienation was these little differences, well, quite big differences,
yeah.
but also similarities. Like, for example, when the newcomer guy became pregnant, he said something like, "Oh, if the women would know how painful it is to be pregnant, they would never have a sex with me anymore. Or there would be no babies." And I was like,
that's
oh
right.
yeah, that's so. I still remember that.
Because the man, for those of you who don't know, in alienation, when the Tankanese have a baby, the woman carries the first of all, it takes 3 to tango. They have a bam that comes in and does a little thing. God knows what that is. But the fertilization of the Tankanese baby is a sight to behold. But the woman carries the baby for the first part of the term, and then they do a transferring of the pod to the male, and then the male carries the baby for delivery, and they go through the stereotypical pregnancy things of being overly emotional, wanting to eat like crazy, and
no sour milk.
And no sour milk.
I guess, but there was this ongoing theme of a relationship between the Sykes character and one of the newcomer ladies, this Kathy girl. Is there something that you would maybe like to experience, an interracial, interspecies sex? If of course everything was, right holes and
if everything was just Just about.
Or maybe somewhere else, but still kind of.
I don't know. Are you saving some sort of surprise for me? What is the saying? I'll try anything once. Come on.
Okay, but of course, the alien nation is not the only thing, as it is my favorite of your work. But you were also on this little show called Star Trek. Enterprise.
Yes.
But I've read that that wasn't the first role that they considered you for. That actually you were considered for 2 captain roles. One, Benjamin Sisko, and second, Captain Janeway.
It's true. And it was the way that I auditioned in a dress, and they found it quite fetching. They thought I had a girlish figure. No, actually, for Voyager, they weren't really sure whether they were going to go with a male captain or a female captain. In fact, my partner, Eric Pierpoint, was also one of the guys that was in the running for the captain role of Janeway. And they decided to go female, obviously. And I'm a little pissed off about it. I don't mind admitting. She was great. And the Deep Space Nine captain, yeah, I was in the running. Somebody, this is all rumor, this is all secondhand, and I have no corroboration, but this is what I was told by powers that be, that there were 3 guys, it came down to 3 guys on the Deep Space Nine, and one of them was white and 2 of them were black. So they went for the guy they went with. Hey, I'm not bitter. You know, that's show business.
But that's not the only Star Trek show that you were on, actually, Enterprise. Because when I was researching you, I found out that there is a fan series. They call it fan series, but what we know as a fun film or fan series is that a bunch of guys comes to another guy's garage. Then they pretend that all this paper stuff is actually a starship. They break some arms and they stop doing all the stunts and all this, but the Star Trek...
It sounds like Hollywood so far. that's the way, that's what it is.
Yeah, but the Star Trek of Goods and Men, that's the title, that had Tim Russ directing, who is a Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager. It had Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig, Ethan Phillips, Gareth Wong. The funny thing is, I've seen that the Voyager guys were not playing their characters. They made them to make up a whole new characters. The other ones were
including
playing.
mine.
Really?
Yeah. The guy I played in Gods and Men, I'd never played before. Having played two other Star Trek characters, Tanis in Voyager, Tanis the Ocampan, and also Ambassador Saval from Enterprise. And they came up with, they intended yet a third character for me to play. I play a shapeshifter, name of Ragnar in that. So, yeah.
What kind of production it was then? Because it's everybody can read that it's a fan film or fan series, but there are obviously a lot of professional people involved in it.
Yeah, which was sort of the draw. You know, if just people, you know, just call up and say, hey, we've got this crazy idea, we'll pay you to come on out here. We're just a bunch of crazy guys in a garage. And let's go. I go, well, let me think about it, but no. But there were people from the business doing it, and it was, we had one of the cinematographers from Enterprise as our DP, Tim Russ, that I've worked with before. You know, he's directed me in a bunch of things, and we had the wonderful cast, Walter and Michelle and Cameron, man. Cameron from Ferris Bueller. You know, Ruck. And a bunch of really good people. So yeah, it was a hoot to do, and it was horrendous conditions in upstate New York, in about 115-degree heat, and no air conditioning and poor plumbing in the building. But we got on set.
Because of the sci-fi shows, are you even a sci-fi fan?
I am. I am. I was going to be a doctor before I was an actor. So I was already interested in science. And my dad was a big astronomy nut. He was also a doctor. God, I'm already a doctor. That's fantastic. I didn't even go to medical school, but I'm a doctor. But yeah, I used to read as a kid. My favorites were Ray Bradbury, and Isaac Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke, and I'd read them. And R is for Rocket, man. I finally met Ray Bradbury. What a cool guy he is, yeah. And he was, when I met him, he was old and in a wheelchair and very frail, and he just looked like, oh God, I'd love to be any place but here. And I can't believe I'm at this stupid dinner and all that. So I walked up, I had him sign a book, an old book of mine, R is for Rocket. First science fiction anthology I'd ever read. R is for Rocket. It's brilliant. And it was one of the first anthologies he wrote. And I had this old copy of mine, and he was just signing books, going, yeah, okay, all right, thank you, all right, thank you very much, okay. And I walked up, Mr. Bradbury, you are my favorite science fiction writer, and as a kid, at like 12 years old, I read R is for Rocket, and I said, you'd never, apparently nobody had recently come up, it was all, you know, all his other works, and he went, and so he spent time, he wrote a short mini novel on the so that was nice. Ray Bradbury, beautiful, right?
That's great.
So yeah, I'm a big fan. I can't claim, although I saw the original Star Treks and all that, I can't claim that I'm a Trekkie, because I just, maybe I'm too ADD to retain all the Trek lore, but I'm not really a Trekkie, but I appreciate Trekkies.
Okay, well, I'm very happy to have you here, but our time is up for almost the whole show, so I will have to pack you up, but I'm really looking forward. We are having another panel together on Saturday, actually.
Okay.
So, and
I'll bring the beer.
Great.
Okay.
A Gary má navíc svůj vlastní panel, na který doufejme nebude tolik utrhaný, jak mi připadá teďka tady. Takže určitě přijďte, máte na sobě spoustu dalších historek, které se z něj ještě pokusíme dostat.
Thank you.
Malou zhruba 15-minutový přetek, který uděláme do dalšího programu, protože jako obvykle po druhém mostu přichází hudební vložka.